and I think that's powerful. Again, just to be able to hear that context, because some people might not be out there. Because there's another part to this, right? We're celebrating, the month of the military child, but more than that, there are some, sadly, children who are older, right? You have folks that might be 30 or 40 and their dad was a Vietnam veteran, but they never had that bond. You know what I mean? Like their impressions in service was a little bit different. So it's good to look at different, perspectives of how service comes about. And you may have others folks that may be watching this, on the replay who might say to themselves, I want to go into service, but Aaron, you don't understand. My dad's a big ranking guy. I'm never going to be that. So they don't see challenge the way you're seeing it, right? And that's why I asked the question of how do you see that challenge? Because again, your dad made his career, right? He has his career. Yeah. You're doing your own. And yes, there's obviously a benefit to what he's done and this knowledge that you have access to through him. But I love the fact that he's giving you the ability to say, hey, find your own way, right? Yes, he'd love you to be an officer. You know what I mean? If you were to ask me, I'd be like, yep, go officer route, because we understand the enlisted side of the house, but it's just because we want our kids to be able to do a little bit better and kind of have different options that maybe we didn't have. But it doesn't mean you won't do it. It just means today you're kind of finding your way, which is fine. But I love how you said that, because hopefully someone who watches this has the ability to see this and say, okay, I like his perspective, right? Like maybe I'm on the fence where I want to serve, but my dad did it, Aaron. So, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do my own thing. And it's like, in your case, you are doing your own thing, even though you're serving also, and you're also in the military. The reality is, punchline, your dad's boots are his boots and your boots are your boots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is he marched one way, you're marching another way, but the bond you have, I think, by far is the biggest part. So I love how you look at the challenge of kind of exceeding what he's done and taking his information and knowledge and, being able to go a little above and beyond. What would you say is one of the things, again, given the relationship you and your father have, that has been a benefit to you beyond even service, that you would say that you're grateful for, that your dad has been able to impart to you, not only as your dad, but even as a senior officer to you, right? And all these different things through your upbringing.
Say it one more time. So a piece of advice you're saying?
Yeah. What would you say has been one of the biggest benefits, or, not so much an advice, but the biggest benefit that your dad has been able to impart to you, or he's meant to you because of, being in the military and doing all these different things? What has been one of the biggest benefits to your life that you would say that he's been able to, bring to you, that you're grateful for, that he's been able to either lead by example or lessons or relationship? What's something that you would say that stands out as like, top like three things that you would say that, I'm grateful for these things because of my dad, being in my life, and, maybe it's tied to service, maybe it's not. But what would you say that is for you, regardless of what it might be?
One, honestly, where he came from, where he's from. He made out of that, he was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. It's a little rough there. He made it out and he paved the way for himself, honestly. He did it by himself. So just seeing that, it's impactful because, I know he did it by himself and I have him, so I don't have to do it by myself. So that's great for me. Two, like honestly, how resilient he is. He can get past anything. It doesn't matter, And number three, our relationship is a big thing for me. I need him, honestly. I don't know what I would do without him. It's just, I talk to him all the time. I tell him everything. And I feel like if I didn't have him, it would be a little harder to get where I'm at. And he's just a big impact on everything I've done. So definitely our relationship is big on me.
What are two things that you would say that you want to be able to replicate or emulate for tomorrow, should your son or your daughter in the future look up to you as dad, that you would like to be able to replicate that your dad has done for you, regardless of service, just as a whole?
Being clean, organized. He's really, instilled that in me. He's always wanted me to make my bed in the morning. When I was in Oklahoma, he was like, "You don't make your bed, you're gonna go run the track." We had to go run in the snow one time because we didn't make our bed, and I'm just like, okay, and it helped as I went in myself. I'm just like, okay, I gotta make my bed, cool. But I would definitely tell my kids and instill that in them to be clean and organized. Just things run smoother, and that's how it is. And two, just to be a leader. He's always been a leader, and he's always told me to be a leader. So I wanna instill that in my kids as well.
If you could send as we start to wrap up here, what's one message I guess that you would extend to your dad? For everything up to this point. Obviously, you've grown up, you finished school, you've gone on to service. For all intents and purposes, you're far from over, right? You're literally just beginning in many areas. But like you said, there's one thing that has to be noted is, and you know how it is, even at your point, I would assume you have a lot of friends and partners who maybe have gone, the other way. You know how it is. Regardless of where you come from, it's one of those things. It's like you look around, it's just like, man, I remember when I was 17. I'm like, man, I'm in the military, and I got friends that chose to go another way. And fast forward to years, you're like, yo, what's happening here? You know what I mean? So you chose to go a certain route, and even though you're on the journey, you're heads and shoulders ahead of others. And that's just the reality. Because you got some folks who have no clue what they're doing. They have no plan. They have no organization. They're just clueless. Like you said, your dad has been a big influence in helping you, at least make some of that, clarity and giving you some advices and things like that. But what's one thing I guess you would, want to relate to your dad, up to this point, Aaron today, is grateful for XYZ. What's a message I guess you'd like to relate to your pop?
I'm grateful for him just sticking around. I'm gonna say that, sticking around and just really drilling into my head, because as a kid, I've done my dumb stuff, I used to, hang with a bad crowd, of course. And, one day he was just like, all right, you got to grow up, basically. And, like, of course he didn't say it like that. It was a little more aggressive and, a little more cuss words. But, I just, honestly, him just sticking around. And I'm grateful for that. He knows how I feel about him. I tell him all the time. It's harder to say it,
Yeah.
He knows.
Well, it's funny you say that. So, fun fact for you: we actually have one message that your dad sent us. So this is for you from your dad. Let me make sure you can hear it when I play it here.
Hey, son. Well, as I sit here, I think about what you're doing right now and giving this interview and everything you've done up until this point, all your achievements and your goals, everything from your black belt test at Kukso to the man you've become today. I can't really say in words, how much I am proud of you and how much I love you and how much I'm grateful for the son you are, for the soldier you are, for the man you are. It's a pleasure to watch you grow. All right. I love you deeply. Keep doing great things. All right, son. The world is yours. Love you.
So we had your dad obviously send us a quick message there. What does it mean? And obviously, you have a great relationship with him, but what does that mean to you?
Man, I'm telling you, he knows what to say, it's, it's just, I'm glad I have him, I don't know what I would do, honestly, he took everything I wanted to say, basically, he took everything.
I hope you appreciate that, because I thought it'd be nice to have that for you there.
It definitely caught me off guard, and I haven't seen him in a long time, so not a long time. It's been almost a year, I think, maybe a little longer, because he's out in Korea right now, so it's hard not having him here. Just seeing that is just, it made my day. I'm not gonna lie,
Awesome.
So.
And I'm glad that meant something to you, especially when we reached out to him to have him, send a message for you. I think he did it in one take, but he had to hold back a little bit there because obviously being away and all that stuff, it is what it is. So, you ain't gonna see dad crack on this video here, but,
Yeah, of course.
but the words are the words and the meanings are the meanings. And, I think that really is a great way to really just have this conversation about, what service is meant, not only for him, but even him seeing you now stepping into service, what that meant for you as being a child of a military member, going through life doing what he's been doing and what he continues to do. So, on behalf of, the team here at Veterans Network and my crew, we're grateful for his service, we're grateful for your service, and we're grateful for you sharing your story with us, because, like, again, it's more about being able to talk about the other side of the coin, right? We never really hear so much about, the child's perspective, not saying that you're a child, but, being able to grow up in that environment, we don't hear a lot of that. Like, what does that really mean? And obviously, we can see the bond you both have, and, that's exemplary, but hopefully those that are watching this can see this and get some benefit out of it, even if they themselves may not have that strong relationship. They can try to at least build or have conversations or begin somewhere, right? It's not perfect, but you try. As we close out here, what would be some advice or a piece of advice that you would have for anyone out there who might be the military, who might be a child of a military member, who might be separated, who might, maybe not have a close relationship because maybe they don't serve, right? Maybe they're not in service, so they don't understand. Like, well, dad does that stuff over there, and I just don't get them, and we're kind of separated. And life is life, right? They don't have maybe the bonds you have with your dad. But what would be, I guess, a piece of advice you would give for someone out there who may want to have the type of relationship that you and your dad have, in their own journey?
Honestly, find a hobby. Find a hobby that you can both relate to. Find a TV show, something. Find something you both can relate to, that you both can enjoy together. And honestly, it just goes from there. He's always been a sports guy. He played sports growing up. We played basketball together. He used to he grapples, all his combatives in the Army and stuff. And he'd teach me because I always wanted to learn myself, We relate on that level. He would take me to shoot when I was young. It's just the little stuff that it just flows, honestly. So just honestly find something you guys can relate to, And obviously, it's trial and error, But you have to build that relationship. If you want it to be stronger, you got to build it, and you gotta make it happen. So,
yeah,
that would be my advice.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, I appreciate you, brother. For jumping on here and just kind of sharing your story, talking about your dad, talking about your service, and really just talking about what matters the most, which is that relationship aspect, and sharing some of that. I'm glad that you're able to appreciate, that video from your dad, especially, being separated because of his service at the moment. But I definitely look forward to hearing more from you as you go forward and seeing some of the things that you're doing. So, I wish you nothing but success, in greatness, like your dad said, being into service and kind of seeing, the legacy of what we've done, collectively. It's like the old guard almost, right? And seeing you now kind of go forward and do great things. So, I'm very proud of your service, proud of your relationship, and proud to be able to have you as part of our community because, we have old farts like myself and your dad, and we have folks like yourself, out there, doing the things that we used to do. So it's amazing, to be able to see the next generation, going forward and knowing that, hey, even though, for example, the day will come where your dad hangs up the uniform, I hung up my uniform, it's people like yourself, right? Good men and women who are actually going out there and continuing that legacy of service, which makes me as a veteran feel, more secure and comfortable knowing that we got good people out there doing stuff, right? Like, hey, I can't be out there anymore doing it because my time has passed, but I love the fact that I know and have met people like you who are out there doing it. So, it might just be a year in, but I'll tell you, I appreciate the year that you are doing, my friend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your service as well, man. Thank you.
All right, my brother. We'll talk soon. Good luck to you. And we'll talk again for everybody tuning in. Thanks for joining us for another episode of One-on-One Profiles at Audacity with Aaron stepping into his dad's military shoes and going his own way, doing some amazing, amazing things. We'll catch you next time, brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, brother.